Cool. So when I was planning for this chat, it was very difficult for me to contextualize who you are because I get to sort of like enjoy the privilege of having worked with you and also be a friend. So like I feel like I'm a bit biased. So if someone were to live under some culinary rock, let's say, who is Abigail Donnelly?
Sure, Seth, it's a difficult one because I have many hats, and yeah, I mean, I kind of when you asked that when that first came into my mind, I kind of thought I should probably say what my personality is, but maybe we can get there or maybe not. But yeah, I wear many hats. I am the food director of Taste. That is in the magazine and online. I work very closely with the digital team. I also have a contract with the Woolworths food marketing team, and I work very closely with the agency. And yeah, looking at different trends of where food is going, how Woolies can show up in visual merchandising. I do a lot of the gold campaigns, and I mentor a lot of the young upcoming stylists as well. And then I am chief judge for Eat Out Restaurant Awards.
Doesn't end. It's like every end is like bigger than the previous thing. Wow.
Yeah.
And I mean, how do you do it all? Like,
I have some people who help, but I just am so, I suppose, that overused word passionate. It's just my life, I evolve everything and revolve everything around it. And yeah, not to be a little bit too familiar, but I have a stay-at-home husband who looks after and makes sure the kids are well looked after. I do it financially, he does it more emotionally, and and he helps me. He helps me run around, he helps me cook, for events and things like that, because that's also kind of sometimes on the sideline I do.
and he's very well loved. Everyone in your world loves him as much as they love you.
Yeah, I think we go kind of as a package, yeah. And everybody loves his Instagram dinner posts.
Yes. Yeah.
He's a good cook.
But I mean, so at some point there needed to have been some kind of decision to make, okay, cool, I'm going to go into this world. When was that decision? Like, when did you decide food was the thing? Like,
Well, I mean, it is a long story, Seth, but yeah, I always loved food. I mean, I remember I was probably about in Zim, we grew up, and yeah, my gran instilled a lot of the love affair of food, my love affair of food. Very simple cooking, kind of war, not that I was in the war that old, but yeah, from her kind of inspiration, a very lot of simple kind of food. And she brought me up a lot, and we just spent so much time in the kitchen. And those were my very fond food memories. And then from there, I kind of, at 8, I would be at home, and we in Zim, we couldn't get really even black pepper, it was just very humble ingredients. And my first dish I made was spaghetti bolognese for the family. And there,
how old were you then?
I kind of remember I was about 8. Yeah, which probably sounds, I mean, when you look at MasterChef and those youngsters, I mean, they're cooking like from 4, like, top-notch kind of food. But for then, I think, yeah, it was there. And then, I just kind of always wanted to be into food, but I also wanted to be an air hostess,
Oh, wow.
which I never got to be. I wanted to travel the world, and then I kind of in the
Never thought you'd say that, but I get it from the glamour, because you're very glamorous as well. So I think it's still there. Yeah, okay.
So I just wanted to see the world, and at the late 80s when I matriculated, that was the kind of thing. I didn't have the opportunity to study, and especially culinary school. So I became an insurance broker, and that was in Johannesburg. Long story, as I said, but then I met my husband, who's still my husband. Many years ago, he was doing his national service in Joburg, and then he's Capetonian, and then I left, and I got a transfer. I was working as an insurance broker, who was the broker for Woolworths. I mean, it was just insane. So I got this job at Woolworths head office down the road.
As what? As the broker still?
As a broker.
Okay.
And I looked after all the public liability claims if a customer fell on a banana skin in store, or all
the good old days where you could claim a fortune for just slipping on a bit of
or
detergent.
just sneak that banana skin
and then
slide.
skip. Yeah.
But and then I looked after all the PDs. Some PDs are still there that used to travel and look after their claims when they travelled. But the love affair was always there. And Terry, by that stage, had finished studying as an art director. He got a job and in an ad agency. They needed a chef. I became the chef. Then I became a chef at a hotel, a small hotel in Tamboerskloof. I opened some coffee shops after I left there. Became food editor for Fair Lady whilst I was part-time, whilst I was also chef at a law firm.
And what years are these?
So this is like the 90s and early 2000s, yeah, before we had kids, yes.
And at any of that time, because you're changing so many things and you're basically following your passion,
Yes.
and I think you it sounds like you're acting a lot on intuition. Were you not scared to like...
Oh, I was so scared. I'm still scared. Every
Okay.
shoot I go to, I get
Yeah.
this like kind of nervous,
butterflies, yeah.
excited, you know. But I took a chance and I was given that chance. And Seth, I worked hard at it. You know, I remember my first editor at Fair Lady basically throwing back comments of my first article I wrote. And I'm not a writer. I mean, I'm a food writer. I can write recipes. And, you know, if somebody interviews me and I can give great answers.
Does she know that you've won Food Writer of the Year, right?
A couple of times,
exactly.
yes.
So
yes,
at
yes.
this point, I don't know if she's eaten her humble pie.
She has, and you know what? She gave me that chance, and I think she saw, you know, that I am a hard worker, you know, and she saw that, and she developed me, and then you know, then Taste and Eat Out approached me at the same time because it's the same media company, the same media house. So that was in, I suppose, 2017, because that's, yes, when I had my last child. Sounds like I've had a whole brew, but I've only had two.
Yeah, but they're spaced out, right? When was your first one?
Beg your pardon?
They are a bit spaced out.
Yes, yeah, there's 6 years difference. So Jack was a 2000 baby. He's 23, and Matthew is 17. And yeah, my main aim is to just really take him into where he wants to go, and he wants to be a chef.
Oh, wow.
And I want to advise him.
After everything he's seen.
Can you believe it? I'm like, no.
Yeah.
But I'm so proud that I can I never thought I'd leave a little legacy. You know, people leave legacies. And I just thought,
You
I'm
don't
a humble
think...
person. I'm not going to leave a legacy. But I am, you know.
You already have. Even before him, you already have.
Thank you, thanks. But yeah.
Okay, but I mean, actually, let's not, skip over that part. I don't want to
Yes.
gloss over that. So you do know that you've made like an enormous impact in the South African food industry. I mean, for me, when I first started realizing that the rest of the greater North was paying attention to what was being cooked in the South, I always owed most of that due to what you were doing. And so, I hope that you're aware of that. And I guess that maybe enough people around you sort of tell you that while you're still, around to hear it, because I think it's true.
Thank you. Yeah, and people do tell me that, but I think it's just my personality, because I feel so grateful and lucky to have been given that opportunity. That every day is just like, I never take it for granted, So, but I do honestly, in my gut and my soul, my heart, feel that I have made an impact, because the chefs tell me that, and they are my heroes.
Yeah. And I think that if you're getting from the people that half the time seem like they're giving you the hardest time as well, because I think it's not always rosy when it comes to the Eat Out Awards.
Yeah.
Everything is tense, the chefs are upset, nerves are high. How do you deal with that with so much ease? Because you've been, you've been the head judge for how many years?
Well, I had a break. I had a break 2 years before COVID, and then COVID 2 years, and then I came back. I really missed the industry, and that's a whole other story. But before that, it was 12 years. Yeah. But it definitely hasn't been an easy ride. Yeah. But I think it's all about experience, and you just get a little bit older, and you take good advice from people that are close to you, including chefs who give me advice, But it's sometimes very scary, and, we all, my shoulders have kind of got broader or stronger, whatever the saying is. But, sometimes, we're all human, and sometimes it can be a very sensitive issue. Because judging is not, it's not, a lot of people just think, oh, there she goes off and she books at a restaurant, she looks great, and, there we go, and eat and dine, and you get a free meal.
Of course,
Not that I get I pay for the meal,
Yeah,
our
yeah.
company, but as in
course.
a free meal, which I don't believe there's anything in a free lunch. So, yeah, and I really am passionate about the chefs in the industry and on how they can excel. And sometimes when they don't excel, I have sleepless nights like, why did you cook like that? I wanted you to do better. I wanted you to push the boundaries more, consistency more. So it's a hard job,
It's difficult, yeah.
But I remember years ago, my previous, I think she was CEO for New Media, said, if you're going to put yourself, because it was like my second year, and I was like at my desk bawling and like, oh my gosh, it's like, they hate me, whatever. But and she said to me, she said, if you're going to put yourself out there to be criticized, you're going to need to learn to take it on and not take it personally. And, my present CEO at now, Aileen Lamb, she always says to me, even recently, it's always, don't take it personally, it's not you. And I think the more I can do that, the better.
It's a hard thing to do, though, for someone as sensitive as yourself.
Yes.
Because you got into this not because you wanted the power that comes with it, but more because of the passion. And so sometimes it kind of feels like it backfires. And so, I mean, ultimately, I've always wanted to know, like, do you see being sort of like, high priestess as like a blessing or a curse?
I think I'll be very transparent and honest, both, but I think it also is just the most amazing opportunity as well. I never, for me to walk into a restaurant unannounced is very awkward for me. I don't want to be the one to say, oh, here I am, I'm not that kind of person. I want to be kind to chefs. I just think it's just the most, I'm just so lucky to be able to have that. And, a lot of people said, oh, that's why you came back for the power.
Yeah.
I suppose there's a little bit of that. I mean, let's be
I mean,
honest, there has to be,
I mean, I
that
think
gives me
less
the
about the
confidence,
power, but
the
it's
power.
more the fact that, like, if you are passionate about something and you care about an industry, why would you not want to ascend to the highest order that exists within that industry?
Exactly.
That just makes perfect sense to me.
And do your best,
Exactly, yeah.
And it's not an easy job. Otherwise, I suppose a lot of people will want to do it,
would want to do it, exactly.
When my publisher at the time, all those years ago, asked me to be, I was still at Fair Lady, and, I was a bit kind of, I suppose, poached a little bit. I can say that, it's 12 years ago. But, and she called me and she said, we'd love you to do this. And I'm like, what? Show me those CVs. I want you to prove that other people, and there were CVs.
Yeah.
But,
No, it's good. Congratulations, and well done.
Good. And that's why I came back, Seth. I missed the chefs. I missed, obviously, the eating out. But they inspire me so much to do my other jobs I have my hat on.
But I mean, even during COVID, you were currently on your break at that point.
Yes.
I still remember how much the chefs were still deferring to you for advice, and like even just like for any kind of relevant thing, what should we do with the restaurant? Like, what are your suggestions? Like, so clearly you were still seen as like the rudder in the industry even during the time you were away. So it makes perfect sense that you would want to come back.
Yeah, and I think that also gave me the confidence that chefs were, at that time there was no blurring of the lines, there was no conflict of interest, so I was able to go in and consult a little bit.
Yeah.
Not my favorite thing to do, but it just
Because
gave me
what?
the assurance.
Because people chefs don't listen.
Yeah, a lot of the chefs, and I'm not talking about very established chefs. I'm talking, I mean, if a company or a owner of a restaurant or a property wants you to, or asks you to kind of consult, there's a reason why, and maybe they haven't invested in the right chef, with the right caliber. So you can only instill so much, and also, I'll be honest, will never know how to cook like certain chefs. I don't want to. That's why I eat out and judge,
Yeah, but I think the people need to know that you don't need to cook the same level, the same way as the person to be able to be critical and fair in the judgment of it.
Yes, absolutely. I just need to make sure that when I visit a restaurant, whether it's an established restaurant or a new restaurant, that I've done my research, that I go in with a good frame of mind. I'm hungry, because when I walk into those restaurants, I am super scared. As much as I can be confident, I'm scared of being challenged by a chef that maybe there's a technique that I don't know, or a combination, or am I being too critical, especially when it comes to a wine list. I know a lot about food, but wine is so evolving all the time, and then I'm presented with a wine that I'm actually really confused about, and I had part of my job is, yes, it's more about the food than the wine, but it's more about the wine list and how it translates and matches up to the chef's philosophy. But the sommeliers they're hardcore.
Yeah, but
in a good way.
No, but I think for me, one of the interesting things is that I share the exact opposite opinion on that. If I find a restaurant is too I don't know, up its own about maybe certain techniques that are too highbrow for the consumer. For me, I think that technically that sometimes takes away from the experience. And I guess for you, it's different because as the head judge, you're supposed to sort of I don't know, oversee it from a point of authority. But I mean, for a regular judge, if you find yourself as representative of a diner just with more knowledge, if you're also finding a disconnect with not being able to connect with the menu, that's already a fault. Doesn't matter how brilliant the place is, it also needs to still be able to bridge the gap.
Yeah, and I absolutely, when I'm judging, I have those two hats on.
Yeah.
I have consumer in mind because they're going to spend their hard-earned money, I need to respect that.
Yeah, ultimately that's what it's about. It's about to make sure that we guide you to the best places to eat, so you can spend your hard-earned
and
money.
so chefs have bums on seats. That's what we aim. For restaurants in South Africa to be successful in that way. So yes, I need to understand the chef side and the consumer side.
Yeah. Okay. Now, it gets controversial sometimes,
Yes.
and I don't want to dwell too much on this. I want to touch on last year.
Yes.
So last year, there was a lot of responses. Kobus van Bofgat penned an open letter.
Yes.
How did that feel for you, and how did you address that?
It unfortunately happens at the end of the year when I'm absolutely exhausted. So, I thought I would be more sensitive and take it on more personally as an attack to me. But I didn't. I held my head up high. I listened.
But also, I felt like it wasn't written against you, I think. It was probably more outlined against the
brand.
The brand, and more sort of the format of the process.
100%. And the team and, management and the brand of the Eat Out brand, we listened, and there were some real good kind of comments there, that we needed to make this change, which we've now adopted, put out the research to the industry, brought it all together, presented it, and now making change. So, because you are out there and you kind of, it's hard not to take it personally, but I really was, I was brave this time. I really do believe that. And I feel quite empowered by that in a way, and the support from the team, obviously, saying that I just take on I can take it on now. I could never take it on, but it's years of experience, but I won't lie, I maybe had one cry.
Of course, yeah.
But
again, ultimately, you're
because I
still
love
a
it.
sensitive person. And I think it's just so beautiful. And maybe something that doesn't get spoken enough, when often, not that it's about sex or anything, but I find that women in power have to sort of embody this sort of ultra bulletproof exterior. And yet you have never fallen into that sort of I don't know, category where you just now wear your hard exterior. You're still sensitive, you're still sweet and lovely to everyone. You make everyone feel seen. And I think that to be able to handle those two sort of worlds must be a really tight rope, because for you to be sensitive and still be unbothered, not unbothered, but unshaken by all the criticism, it's quite a good balance. And I think that maybe more should be spoken about that at some point to empower others.
I just think that it wasn't going to make me give up. I've got too much to give. That's why I came back to this brand. I do believe I've got so much more.
So what is in the future? What are we looking in the future for Eat Out?
From my side, obviously, now that we've got this more robust, credible judging process, I would like to be able to mentor, to showcase and uplift more diversity in the kitchens, in the forefront of the kitchens. Already we see many female chefs taking the lead by the pass, and we obviously celebrated that at the awards last year, where we had an all-female cooking panel. So the mentoring is very much part of what I do across all my titles and all my hats. But just to see South African diversity and cultures more prominent. I'm not saying necessarily cooking more South African kind of food, because without any disrespect, there's kind of a limit on what you can produce. But, it is about, South Africa is about our diverse local ingredients that we can celebrate on menus.
I mean, I still think that in itself still has its own journey of evolution, because I don't know how many times I go to a 2-3 Michelin star restaurant in France and I'm served tripe. And to them, it's like a celebration. It's like a big thing. And yet here in South Africa, you would never see that at one of our best establishments. And something like I've seen like hints of like sample beans and stuff, which is cool, because you can play on that because it mimics other types of grain that you can sort of find normally.
Yes.
But I just think that like there's so many things. Like the one time at a fine dining restaurant I ever ate like a chicken head or chicken feet was in Europe.
Yeah.
And in South Africa, it's such a normal thing, and yet it never makes it its way into fine dining.
Exactly. It's kind of like we're embarrassed about it for some reason,
like
almost, Like tripe is a universal
Completely.
kind of awful language in the world, from Italian and a tomato chili or a butter sauce to the way my gran made it was just with white pepper, onions and water, not even stock, and then you get black tripe and white tripe and clean tripe and dirty tripe, it's but I'm glad to say that Woolies now has tripe.
There you go. You see? Yeah. Okay, so you're infecting the industry from both sides. Nice. Okay.
So that's really exciting, yeah.
Now, talking about, before we actually, you mentioned the fact that we're seeing more female chefs. Do you, this is the one sort of like thing that I can be critical about. I think it's not enough. And I don't know what the holdup is, because there's always like this period, and it's kind of like cyclical, where there's like a huge wave of like, female chefs coming to the fore. And then they kind of never make it into the same star status that we know from other male chefs, and then they fizzle out. What happens? Like a simple example is like, a lot of them will be head chef, and then they'll go off to open their own thing, and then their own thing won't do anything. And so then that's just it. Whereas with the male ones, when they become like sort of like, give an example, like Ryan, for instance, he had a name by the time he was leaving the Test Kitchen group, and then he opened Salsify, and then that exploded. Like there's a lot of them, Ivor, same thing. How come that we don't see that happening as much with the women chefs?
I think it's got a lot to do with like the old and the new. So the guys were at the forefront. It was a thing to study and go to culinary school, where now the female chefs are starting to come up to that, and they're being recognized.
Who at the moment?
Well, Mabata, unfortunately, she has closed now.
I know, but even that was it started so well, and it was going incredibly well until I heard that it was closing.
Yeah.
So like, is it an investment problem? Like, do investors just don't think they should be backing, women
I don't
chefs?
think it's that. I think, and I don't also want to be like disrespectful, but it could be a stamina thing. I think it can be a lot of mental health.
Yeah. And domestic expectations. You have to have children, blah blah.
Exactly. So the longevity of it. But I am definitely seeing, the students that I have with Silwood, I always ask them, do you want to be a caterer, or are you going to open up your own deli? No, I want to be a full chef. And I'm seeing a lot of that. So I really do believe, and I hope that we see more. Yeah, and there are some amazing female chefs. Chefs out there that are rising to the front, and I think it's really exciting that the chefs the male chefs that I talk to about it, they are really kind of investing and believe,
they recognize
and
the problem.
They're bringing, and it's
okay,
and I think there's a sensitivity that a female brings into the kitchen. Which is quite nice, that it's not
and
just
necessary. I mean, I think you would potentially need less investment into mental health for the male chefs if like the female ones were maybe made more prominent in the kitchen. Who are your top 3 chefs at the moment?
Oh, that's quite a, that's,
Give me guys and
even
girls.
say that. Um, you know, and I love, there's a lot out. But I
course,
mean,
yeah.
you're just saying, and I'm top of mind, Richard Carstens comes to mind.
Amazing.
I think he is an incredible chef who, yeah, you said no tears, but he always makes me emotional. His food makes me emotional when
Yeah.
I eat it
Yeah.
because he's just, he's never traveled. He's going now to Spain for the first time on an airplane. So he's never traveled, and he can cook like that and have the sensitivity and the generosity and the inspiration on a plate. It's
I was convinced he lived in
mind-blowing.
Japan at some point.
No, with the
salmon ice cream.
Franco,
Yeah.
that. But I actually he still has the menu, and I actually still love it. In fact, I love it more and understand and respect it more than when he had it at Takara.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've watched him for many years, and I think he's genius.
Yeah.
He's a legend in the industry.
No,
Yeah.
I absolutely love him and respect him.
And
yeah.
then Ivor cooks like
Yeah.
I mean, he just cooks just incredibly every time. It's just exciting, and then.
And he's got the personality to match as well.
Exactly.
He's so jolly, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean a third one, I suppose. Yeah, I love Nick from Missouri.
Oh, nice,
I think he's just really good, and it's the kind of food that I always want to eat like every week.
Yeah. Amazing.
And then my fourth one is my favorite restaurant, which is a local Portuguese restaurant.
Yeah, where?
And if I'm not judging, I go there every Friday night with my family, and it's called Barra de May outside Olympia Bakery.
Okay, amazing. Okay,
the
good.
prawns are amazing. The peri-peri chicken, yeah. But
I used to love Olympia,
I don't know
but I
the
don't
name
know
of the
that
chef
one.
though.
Yeah.
I know the name of the owner.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. So
okay.
yeah. So
And then
that's
I'm
my
going to challenge
secret.
you. And I'm going to challenge you. I need 3 women chefs for your favorite 3.
Okay, so I love Eleanor and I think she's doing amazing stuff, especially plant-based, from Creation Wine.
Okay.
I'm really sorry I've forgotten her surname.
Okay, it's fine.
I think Julia also at Ramen Head. She came from Beyond.
Yeah.
I think she's going to go places.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I think, I'm watching Jess from Post and Pepper.
Aha. Oh,
Eggs
actually,
La Colombe.
I actually went there for the first time this December. Yeah, I really had a great
it's
meal
really
there.
good.
I had a great meal there.
And
Cool.
I think she's in her groove now.
Yeah. Okay, and hopefully we'll find a way of turning like the women chefs into stars as well soon.
100%, yeah.
Okay,
and
so-
we're celebrating. Those are the guys, ladies, that we've celebrated at the awards.
Yeah.
Not only cooking, but getting stars.
Amazing.
Yeah.
In terms of the star system, do you like it more than the ranking system?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not just because it was my idea.
Oh, was it? I didn't know it was your idea. Whoops.
No,
Scrap the next question.
Okay, no. I mean, look, it was something that even before I had left it out, wanted, I presented to the team. We weren't ready.
Yeah.
And I get that. But it's in line with the international standards, and it's also the way, we eat now, and also I think we were looking at, it was just jumping from 30 to 4 and 4 to 1, and, it wasn't allowing the diversity and new restaurants a platform to shine and be showcased. And I really do believe this is the way. It's not easy.
It's definitely not.
It's
no.
not easy. Look, Michelin do it. A lot of Gourmet Travel in Australia do it. A lot of people do it. But we're new to it. We're going into the 3rd year of it. We've made a few, I wouldn't say mistakes, but we're learning. It's learnings, And, I think it's much... with a Michelin to drop a star, gain a star, it's hard because of the consistency. And chefs overseas don't leave quickly. Here we have a lot of chef movement. Not necessarily I'm saying that's because you lose a star or not.
Yeah.
That's not part of the criteria.
But is this because here most of the dominating fine dining restaurants, or the restaurants that are at the top that have the most stars or are ranked the highest, are part of groups? And then there's a lot of like changing around versus overseas, where a lot of those restaurants tend to be independent.
So I don't think that's why we have had a few restaurants that have lost stars because of the groups or anything. It's it's just, it is consistency, and, and I do honestly believe with the new, very credible, very concrete system, robust system, is that it will kind of bring that chance of losing a star less.
Yeah.
Because all the judges will eat at all the establishments. Yeah.
And how do you address then some of like the concern I think that like a lot of chefs have is a lot of people like the star method because it makes more sense and it's also in line with the international standards. But also when you've been so used to being ranked and you know that you belong in the top 10 per se, let's say, and suddenly you are now a 2-star place and you are at the same category as a place that has no napkins on the table, that doesn't clean crumbs. And some chefs are like saying like, I spend so much more on just human power to make sure that the table is set correctly.
Yes.
And I'm sitting in the same basket of stars as someone else who basically has chefs walking around with shorts. Like, how do you like explain that to I don't know, to them?
Yeah, it's difficult, but not really so difficult, because we have a tool card, which it's an app, which we fill in, which we have all the proper criteria and what scores the most, So it is about the food, the flavor, the technique, and then obviously the comfiness of it. I can be as comfy at a restaurant, a little bistro restaurant, with no tablecloths or paper tablecloths and paper napkins, as I can with some felt underneath a beautiful linen cloth that drapes to the floor. But it's not only about that, so there are many restaurants that have boofy, beautiful linen napkins that are the size of the tablecloths, and that makes me feel really special, as much as it makes me feel special eating at a restaurant in Marble in Joburg with beautiful looking people. But at the end of the day, the top score line is the taste, the flavor, the consistency, and what the chef puts on the plate, And yes, obviously, little things like, well, not little, but the comfiness and the coziness of the restaurant and how it makes you feel also adds up. Yeah. So yes. So and a lot of you'll see the 3 stars at fine dining at the moment, but I do believe that might change and move.
There should be room for more casual places.
Because our new mission statement when we get there and brand, I suppose, statement is, going to be very much a part of highlighting what culinary excellence means. And that will show on the scorecard.
And I think that for as long as you assume the position of authority, you have to be okay with the fact that during the teething phase, people will have some disagreements and opinions. As long as you stick to what the objective is, eventually they'll thank you in the end when you finally get there.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, and it's, it's the same as, a really good pizza restaurant having the real fabulous ingredients, well cared for ingredients, the proper flour, the proper technique, and a proper pizza oven. Those restaurants, if they fit under what we've kind of our umbrella philosophy, they need to be awarded,
of course,
and stay with consistency. Maybe they're not going to push the boundaries every year, but they can consistently stay as a star.
Yeah.
And I mean, we have like over 6,000 restaurants in South Africa, and so if we award 50 or 52 restaurants every year in a star system, a number one, I think right now some number ones feel, wow, it's amazing, but also, but I've actually kind of lost because I'm not 2 or 3. But you're a 1-star in South Africa.
Wait, tell me, will there be room for 4 stars? 5 stars?
I don't think so.
Once
I think
the category becomes...
Yeah, I think right now we need to stick, because it's so new, we've already having changes, and I think we need to stick to the 3 stars without too much change. And maybe, the special awards. We have so many nice special awards and meaningful special awards. So, we could grow those as well.
But one good thing I've seen is also there's a lot more inclusion. So back in the day, I think, I don't know why it happened this way, but maybe it's just the culture here in Cape Town was stronger. But there was always like the top 10 was always dominated by Cape Town restaurants.
Yes.
And then Mosaic. But now are you seeing a lot more like restaurants coming up and being recognized in Johannesburg and even in Durban, which I'm kind of biased because I'm from there. So like I'm like, yay, finally we're showing up. So it's good. It's getting there.
It really is getting there, and it's because, and it's no lack of that we have never gone into those places. You know, we invested a huge amount of money, cash into traveling up there, but yeah, you know, it just hasn't been there. Yeah. But we are seeing, and it's exciting. There's new stuff.
Yeah.
When were you last in Natal, in KZN?
In December.
Okay. Have you been to Tightline restaurant?
No. I didn't even think I knew about it.
Amlozi,
yeah,
and a little more.
Yeah.
A very unbelievable story.
That's one thing I don't love about Joburg and Durban restaurants. A lot of the nice ones are inside some kind of shopping situation.
Yeah.
That's why I liked Hartford House so much, because like it was just like, you know,
that, yeah.
But the other one is Belpunto, which I love, but it's also in a shopping sort of complex, and like a lot of the Joburg and Durban is kind of like that, and here you get more standalone things.
Yeah, well, we've got the winelands, you know, so that also helps. We've got the beautiful beaches, yeah.
One of the categories that you've added for the judging process is sustainability.
Yes.
Like, is that because it's a trend right now and the in thing, or is it because it's a fundamental idea of what you think you should be focusing on?
Oh, it's definitely not a trend. You know, maybe it was a trend when we spoke about the happy chickens years ago. I don't know, and the happy eggs. But yeah, it's something that we really do believe in, and we need to recognize restaurants that are their unique approach to sustainable cooking through ingredients, practices, welfare, communities, and how they're awarded, because it's important. It's an emotional mindset. I mean, you know, if you're eating sustainable food, you know, it does have a conscious delivery, you know, and implication, and it does make you feel very confident and happy that maybe that you're eating at one of these starred restaurants and they are really trying. And maybe not necessarily, we can't do everything overnight, but at least in some categories, whether it's, you know, the good beef, the free-range beef, no hormones, or is it the abilobi fish, or is it a waste management control? Is it empowering the communities? You know, I mean, it's much easier, I'm sure, for a lot of smaller restaurants with more simple menus, you know, maybe weekly menus. They can go and pick their tomatoes on the rooftop, you know, because they taste better, because we know they taste better, as well as they're conscious, you know, in your mind that it tastes better. But compared to fine dining, so for fine dining restaurants as well, it's incredible to see how important it is, and how it is impacting their menus.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
And you get to sort of wear multiple hats. So I see that Woolworths at the moment is putting a lot of emphasis on regenerative farming.
Yes.
Like, does that translate to you and your role, or do you think it matters if you're having to design recipes and cook food that is sort of more quote unquote organically farmed, or versus just regular how we used to do it all those years ago?
Yeah, I definitely think, you know, because I'm immersed in that part of Woolworths, not in the sustainable part, but obviously in their whole philosophy, and that it definitely is something that we do, because I write recipes for Woolworths. So I'm very aware of that, and very aware that is their makeup. So it is my makeup, you know. Yeah.
And does it make it more, I don't know, important for you just when you're doing recipes to say, oh, actually these flavors are more intense, now you have to add, I don't know, one tomato less because this is better, stronger than one that would be, I don't know, farmed en masse, which is more tasteless or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And that, yeah, you're talking about seasonal cooking, you know, and that's what Woolworths is about, you know, and that's how we write our recipes. I would never, you know, do artichokes, even if they were maybe imported, because that's okay in a way, because, you know, some people, you know, if you can get it and it's, you know, it's available, but I would never do a story in Taste or online about artichokes. That's, you know, in winter. That is my that is my philosophy, my belief, my personal belief.
Yeah.
That I kind of, alongside Woolworths, kind of uplift that,
Yeah, of course.
and it tastes better,
Of course,
I mean,
yeah.
there's, it's from, and Woolworths' kind of farming practices are,
Like by the tea
top
at moment.
top
Yeah.
notch, and I've been to some of the farms and seen how it's packed and how it's transported, and the peaches aren't stuck in cold storage for 6 months,
Of course, yeah. I'm lucky
The
enough that
juices-
I'm
the
going
juices
to
run.
like I'm going to the farm on Thursday, I think.
Which farm
So
are you going
I
to?
don't know. I have no
Oh,
idea.
wow.
So I'll get to sort of experience that, and like, yeah, I'm excited as well.
Yeah, it's very special.
I hope that you spend enough time relishing sort of like the good that you do when you're busy thinking about like the new practices that you put in place, because it does make a difference. Now, the one part that I don't think is exposed enough that people know that you do is your mentorship with Silwood.
Yes.
Can you talk more about that and basically how, I don't know, I guess more people could get involved with that?
Yep. So it's not only Silwood. So I when I first started my career in food, I knocked on, I think there were 3 food stylists at that time. And I didn't even get a reply, So I thought, how can I give back to this industry? And it's about mentoring. So I mentor a lot of people. A lot of people, even a little bit older than me recently in the food world, came to me and said, would you mentor me? And that is my give back. That is my kind of affirmation, pat on the shoulder. If I can just give a little bit of inspiration to the youngsters and the older, who don't necessarily have the opportunity and maybe privileges. So I'm an open book to shoots. People just come and you just have to, I saw a post by Gordon Ramsay the other day, and his one key message was soak it up, and I might be too busy on a shoot or whatever I'm doing, an event, but just stick with me, observe, soak it up, learn, take away. And so I'm forever doing that. Which is great. And my only thing that I, in return is for someone or some of the people to be grateful, which they are.
Yeah.
So I will give my heart out to them. Yeah.
I really think we need to be championing more sort of South African food to be making it into sort of like more fine dining spaces, definitely.
Absolutely. And also, Seth, food writing. I mean, you're a great food writer.
Don't think I do it enough nowadays.
Yeah, I'm afraid we're losing the credibility and the understanding, the luxury of foodies, having that luxury working with editors that you can learn from, and I just don't want it to be a dying art, that everybody can, sorry, without any disrespect again, that you can just ask for a free lunch, write about it because it's great. It might not be great. It does nothing for the industry. It's not uplifting the industry in any way at all.
Completely, yeah.
Yeah.
I think another thing that for me I've seen with you do, and I always love it when you post about it, like when you travel and you sort of eat something exciting. Like, and I feel like the way that you always tell those stories, like I remember, maybe this was a few years ago, and you didn't make it pretty when you were posting it. Like you were basically saying, oh, whoops, I started eating, but this is so delicious or something like that. And I can't remember what, I should have found the post that I'm referencing. But I just loved how the fact that it looked so good that you jumped into it and only took the photo after you had started messing it around made it feel so real.
Oh, like a little bite or something. I think it might be, if I don't know, I maybe it was on the beach in Nice when I was interviewing Jan.
Okay, could have been.
It could have been. I had all my Nice treats out, my Niçoise and all roll and everything, and it was like, it was so delicious. I ate it, but I forgot to take a picture, so I'm going to take a picture.
But that's just so beautiful. And I think that for me, like more sort of chefs need to do that traveling. And I know that it's a privilege that maybe only a very few can actually get to do. But if anyone else who's like an up-and-coming chef realizes how important it is to sort of expose yourself to other techniques and other ways of like treating food, you would come back and see, oh, wow, we have so much potential right here, which is the exact same thing that I think you're constantly affirming. And what it's done over the years for the industry is incredible. And I hope that you continue sort of to feel inspired. And I know that you have great ideas for the future. And please just don't be discouraged by any opinions. I feel like if you're doing something good, people will always have an opinion, and I think it's actually more fire for you to keep going.
Yeah,
So
and that's true. That's also advice that I've had before. Yeah.
cool.
So,
And now after this,
thank you.
what are you doing after this? What is going to be
Today?
Yeah, what is literally going to be exciting Abigail's life today after this?
Today, I'm going to buy a very good friend a present at the waterfront.
Nice.
And a teak candle,
Oh, of
because I know
course.
that I would love that.
Amazing.
And then I'm going into a taste brainstorm for the next issue.
Of course.
Yeah.
Good. There you go.
So,
Keep going.
yeah.
Keep going. Keep working. Are you traveling anytime soon?
I want to. I really am looking at Latin America. I really feel that there's so much food explosion there.
Still
and
desperate to go to
ingredients.
Central. I've still never been.
Yeah, I know, and that's where I want to kind of go to. So I hope that happens. Yeah,
Amazing.
Motivating big time for it. Yeah.
Thank you so much for making the time and fitting me in with all your many hats. And I could talk to you all day. So
Me
thank you
too.
so much.
Thank
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Seth.
Cool.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Abby.